meteorologist Erica Martin with Weather Co-op, where weather meets community. It is Tuesday night, 10:13 p.m. PDT, and there is a lot of weather to go over. So I've been teasing you guys. I've been doing a few updates, and of course, now it's time for the real deal. I don't know where to start, but you know what? We're just going to dig right in. Let's dive on in and start talking about the weather around the world, because we're not only going to focus on what's happening here along the contiguous US or the 48 states. We're going to look at everything else that's happening across the globe, because there are a lot of things that will be impacting us over the next couple of days that might not necessarily be here right now. But let's kick things off with what's happening across the Rockies, the Plains, the Intermountain West. This is that storm we've been talking about, right? It's continuing to move eastward. Now, what's interesting here is that we do have a dry line. It's a very weak one. If you see it kind of crossing through portions of like Texas, like right there along the panhandle, it's very weak, and you can tell because of the angle of the wind barbs. So those are coming in, or wind vectors rather. They're coming in. They're not like they're actually facing each other or coming perpendicular into that line. It's more of just an angled barb. So this is why I just feel like this is a weaker dry line, but still very important to mention, because of course that dry line does differentiate between a dry warm air mass versus a moist warm mass, okay, of air. So we've just got to differentiate between those two, and that's what the dry line does for us. And the reason it's important is because those two air masses, though they're both warm and you would think, oh, we like to get along, they don't. Dry air mass versus a moist air mass, different. And that drier air mass comes in a lot more dense, and it just like bulldozes it over, and it does lift the air in the vertical, and so that of course does cause some destabilization, and that's where sometimes we can get some storms. So we're going to be watching that. I do think we'll have some active weather tomorrow and possibly Thursday, likely Thursday, but let's get to that in just one moment. You can see here how the winds are a lot more active through Iowa, the Dakotas, Nebraska, into Minnesota, and let's see, Wisconsin. We have a lot happening right now. So Missouri, we have a lot of weather happening. So you can see here that storm system, not very organized. We're going to be watching a short wave that's going to be embedded and move right across and impact us across the Mississippi Valley by tomorrow. But this is what we're going to be watching for you, because this looks like pretty much a case of the haves and have-nots. And I said that yesterday. We have that area of high pressure. Look at that beautiful ridge that's impacting, let's see, everybody east of the Mississippi right now, though we are getting a little bit of, it looks like some light returns there across portions of New England. Just looks like we're tapping into some moisture. All in all, conditions are just mainly dry. But here you see that ridge of high pressure. Look at it. How pretty is that? And you can see that clockwise circulation. Then, of course, we head on to the west of that ridge. And you can see here in the Dakotas, along the Four Corners, the Rockies, Southern Rockies, the Northern Rockies. You can see the Intermountain West. Once again, we have some weather moving through. And then when we look over to the Pacific Northwest, look what happens here. We are tracking another storm system that's going to dive on down and bring us some more active weather. So let's go ahead and click to see what we have going on here. All right, this is likely some kind of cold weather alert, right? It's a freeze watch remaining in effect until late Wednesday through Thursday. We have a winter weather advisory. That's to be expected. We've talked about that, right? You know, like 9,000 feet was the snow level. That's still the case. Like the high country, that's what you're looking at. I just don't see that being lower. Maybe the next storm system will luck out, but we do have to have that reinforcing cold air. That punch of cold air always helps. We also have what looks like, I thought I saw a wind alert that was issued, something that was like wind related. Looks like this here. Yeah, a wind advisory issued by the National Weather Service. So southerly winds 25 to 35 miles per hour, gusting up to 50 miles per hour, portions of central, southern, and southeast Kansas until 7 a.m. CDT Wednesday. So your local time. And that's pretty much the same story here. Looks like Missouri as well. We're going to watch that very closely for you. And I just think that we have to track this area very closely, and I'll show you why in just one moment. We do have an SPC update for you. And I went to day 2, which would be Thursday. But actually, I do have day 1 and day 2 tomorrow and Thursday. But I just see this being a little bit more intriguing, especially as I look at some of the other model solutions. Okay. So we have that wind advisory also in effect. And then we have our gale warning in effect. So it's going to be a little bit bumpy for you across the UP as that short wave starts to like just dig on through and move on by. But it's all about just looking at where these air masses stand, right? Where are they? We have that area of high pressure. We have the moist Gulf air. It's warm, it's like muggy, it's juicy. We have that dry air that's coming in from the desert Southwest. And then we have these other features like the frontal boundary. We have that shortwave. And remember, when we're looking at things like this, we just can't look at one area of the atmosphere, right? We have to look at all the levels, especially when we're talking about things like the shortwave, right? So generally, we're looking at 700 millibars there. Anything higher than that, I don't think is very good for the shortwave. What we want to look at there, you're looking at kind of just this feature that does impact the severity of storms. Once again, guys, just a quick note. I notice it in my throat. I know it's a little crackly. It's just because I'm still getting over my cold. I'm not feeling the best, but we're getting through this together forever. Okay. But yeah, right now what you're seeing are surface features, right? So when we look at the wind profile here, you can see that's at the surface. I actually could go higher up in the atmosphere. Let's do that, why don't we? And see what we get, because I think it's going to be pretty interesting as we look up higher. Let's go to the middle of the atmosphere, 500 millibars. Look at that. Do you see this? This is so fascinating. You get a really good idea of what's happening with that area of high pressure. Do you see that ridge? Do you see how right around the panhandle, those winds get a lot more active and they kind of just join there? Do you see all of that Gulf air just moving on in along with that air coming in from the desert Southwest? So oftentimes what we're looking for is just like the combination of all these features together to really trigger some stronger storms. Do I think we'll get some? Yeah, I actually think we'll get a couple of strong storms. So let's go ahead and talk about who I think might get some active storms. But first, let's look at those current temperatures across the nation. We've got 76 degrees for Oklahoma City, 75 for Kansas City. Let's tilt that over just a bit. Wichita, 76. Garden City, 71. Des Moines, 76. Minneapolis, 75. 53 for Sioux Falls. Do you see this clear delineation between that warmer air and then that colder air? Already giving you some type of indication that, yeah, we're going to battle it out here with these air masses. And I'm actually going to show you our dew points in just one moment, too. Actually, let me go hop over to that. I think it's more helpful. Look at the temperatures, okay? Let's focus on like the plains, okay? Let's focus on the southern plains. Okay, let's go to our dew points right now and let's compare dew points. Let's see. Give it a second because I just actually hopped some of the graphics. And once again, I can't hear myself because I'm head cold. Okay, 70s. Okay, so look at this. We've got 60s for Oklahoma City, 70s for Houston. And do you see how the higher dew points versus the lower dew points are where the kind of conflict is happening? Honestly, guys, the atmosphere is it's quite simple, actually. It's like just two people that don't agree. And in this case, they don't agree to disagree, but they nonetheless have to do what they have to do. So we have this area of high pressure. We have that dry line that is giving us a differentiation between the dry, warm air mass versus the moist, warm air mass. And then we can see here that it's pretty obvious. We've got Anchorage in the 20s, Whitebird in the 40s, Rapid City in the 30s. Who is in the 20s? Boise, Phoenix in the 20s. So that makes sense, right? You've got the drier conditions. Albuquerque, 10. Wow. So if you look at that clear, drier air versus that clear, moist air, okay? So that is already telling you, we've got something we got to look at, right? It's like CSI weather. I always say that, CSI weather, because we're looking at two completely different air masses. Like they're not going to jive, right? And that drier air is going to come in and go over the moist air. And if you think about this as a wedge, it's a lot more encompassing, if you will, the wider out you go. So I want you to think of like a wedge and then that that drier air going over, okay? That's how it happens. And because that happens, where these two intersect is where those winds converge and go up. And anytime you're looking at winds and that disruption in the vertical, that's where you're going to see the potential for instability, okay, or destabilization of the atmosphere when we're looking for the potential for some storms. That's really the big thing there, okay? So let's go back to our temperatures because we haven't even talked about what's happening on the East Coast as far as temperatures go. So give it a second. It's got to like resettle because again, I'm hopping around. I should have stacked it differently, but I didn't. All right, let's go to Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, also the city of where I adopted Chloe, my little sweet pea. 56 degrees for you. New York, 61. New Haven, 60. Boston, forget about it, 51. No, Fenway Park. Baltimore, 55. Buffalo, 67. Pittsburgh, 65. Roanoke, 51. Charlotte, 61. Hotlanta, 62. Little Rock, 71, along with Memphis. Kansas City, 75. Omaha, Nebraska, high 76. I love Omaha. Bismarck, 44. Billings, 37. Boise, 37. Las Vegas, 59. Phoenix, 63. San Diego, 57. And Odessa, 73. I actually really like Odessa. People are super nice there. If you haven't been, you might want to go. We have so many beautiful cities and towns across our beautiful nation. All right, here it is. Our future cast hour by hour. Do you see what's happening there? And do you see how that front continues to move eastward? Which is why I actually had some showers in the forecast for some of you on Halloween, but some of you trick or treat the day before. So if your neighborhood gives you like an option, go the day before. Okay, let's just go ahead and toggle this back, and then we're going to move forward. Okay, so let's go back first, and we're going to start Wednesday midnight. And you know why that's happening? Do you know why? Because if you guys are watching me here on Weather Co-op and you guys have been joining me on this amazing journey of weather, you would know why. I had mentioned to you guys that I was sticking to the central daylight time. What I'm looking at is where the actual camera is facing. It's facing the middle of the country, so that time zone is CDT, as opposed to going Pacific or East Coast, right? I'm going to just be clear and say this is CDT. So otherwise, I'll just let you guys know that, okay? Do you see the rigid high pressure? Do you see the clockwise circulation? Do you see the dry line? Do you see how that moist air is battling it out with that dry air? Here's your storm system. There's that frontal boundary. We have a short wave that's embedded. That's going to be developing and diving on down, and that's going to be a weather maker there. There it is right there. Do you see it? It's starting to move down. Do you see how it's just digging in? And do you see how those winds start to get really, really tight and converge? And then do you see how within um the actual shortwave, do you see how the winds are even like counterclockwise? So it's like one feature on top of another feature. So this is why it becomes very active. You know, we're looking for some signatures that could actually promise us some active weather. We could get some hail. Could we get one or two stronger storms? Possibly. You know, I'm going to keep an eye out for that. Let's keep it going. That's Wednesday, 7 p.m. Okay, continue along. Early Thursday, Halloween. Happy Halloween already. Thursday midday. And look what happens over around the UP, Upper Peninsula. Look what happens. We get a little bit of a changeover, enough cold air in place. And then that cold front continues. Hey, if you guys are on the East Coast, you guys lucked out. Once again, I say that because look, there's nothing there. You'll get some clouds filling in late Thursday, but then you guys will get rain on Friday. Okay. Did you see how that worked out? Let me go back once again. We've got the storm system. Hey, look at that. What's happening over the Pacific Northwest? You see that storm? That's going to dive down. So we've got to find if there's any cold air that could pair up with that moisture with that precip and bring us some snow, right? And maybe like lower snow levels, not that 9,000 feet stuff. All right. The real deal. Give us 5,000 feet, Mother Nature. Okay. Continuing. Do you see this? Hour by hour. There's your storm that's going to be introduced to the Pacific Northwest, already changing over. I just don't know about how much cold air we have there. I'll take a look in a moment. But you see how this storm keeps going through. There's your cold front. Okay, that's what's happening over the next couple of days. Keep that in mind. Now, let's see what's happening as far as any updates from the Storm Prediction Center. So, this is day one, which would be tomorrow. That green hatching indicates who's going to see the chance of some thunderstorms. And this one's more intriguing. This is day two. Day two, I'll post this one separately. You're already seeing Washington State and Oregon. The chance of some isolated storms there, right? So we do have a slight chance there as that other storm dives down. Let's see if we can add our radar. Why don't we? There we go. Let's add our radar. Why wouldn't we? Well, because our radar is set for today. That's why we wouldn't. All right, Erica, that's why we wouldn't. That's why. Okay, but you can see here our bullseye right across Kansas, Missouri. No surprise there. Portions of Oklahoma. This is exactly where we're going to see this whole thing play out by Thursday. I don't see here that they're including those of you along, I don't know, let's see, maybe the Appalachians. It might not get there until Friday. So let's see here that we're looking at the probability for some severe storms, and in that brown hatching there, do you see that 5%? We have 15% in the yellow. Okay. So we just want to keep an eye on that over the next couple of days, because I do think we're going to see once again the chance for some storms on Wednesday, and then the chance for some storms on Thursday. All right. This is everything that's happening across the contiguous US, or CONUS as we refer to it, over the next couple of days. And I just showed you our future cast. Now, this is going to be a very good story coming up. And you guys, when it comes to Weather Co-op, where weather meets community, it's about your community and where you are in the world, right? Like, it's silly for us to think like the world is just where we are. And of course, that's just human nature. But we do have to focus on other items. Like I told you, we do weather and sports here. How does weather impact sports? How does weather impact your lifestyle? How does it impact your fashion? How does it impact your mood even? You guys have seen Tracy come in and talk about how finance and weather and mood are all intertwined, right? Now we're going to talk about something else. And here it is. Typhoon Kangray. I have been talking about Kangray for the past couple of days, okay? It was a tropical cyclone, as you all know. And remember that when we're talking about the difference between what the typhoon is versus a hurricane, they're still warm core in nature, right? They're still a tropical cyclone. And in this case, when we're talking about a typhoon, we're also looking at the fact that it's the location, right? It's in the, I always say, northwestern Pacific. Okay. Keep that in mind, because this is important. Look what happens, guys. I want you guys to work with me right here. Thank you guys for bearing with me too. I feel like I can't hear myself because I do have that cold. Okay. So here it is. Do you see this timing of the landfall? So this is Kangray, expected to make landfall as possibly a strong Category 4. Location right now is 18.8 north, 125.4 east. Current winds, max speeds, 105 miles per hour. I just went with like our units. Movement northwest at 9 miles per hour. So a bit of a slow mover. Central pressure, 945 millibars. Alrighty. Now, we have to see here that this is going to make landfall sometime on Thursday. And the reason that's important is because I have Tainan as the landfall location. It might be off by a few miles, but it's still going to be Taiwan. And I want you guys to be very aware of why that's an important landfall, possibly one of the more important landfalls of any tropical cyclone all year. This is not to discount what happened with Helene or Milton. But I will tell you this. This is a big part of our global market, financial market. In fact, I was talking to a new friend, but a good friend, Donna, about this. She works in the financial market sector, and we were talking about how my concern would be a landfall like this in Taiwan, right? Because this is where we get 75% of our integrated circuits. Okay. So this is where the chip manufacturing of the world lies. A shortage could increase prices, and this could be a domino effect of delays. There should be a space there, but domino effect of delays when it comes to our semiconductors or our integrated circuits. Now, we also have to concern ourselves with the Taiwan Strait, where 88% of the world's largest ships migrate through. It's a key global shipping route, and sea warnings are in effect, and they have been. So this is going to be a big problem. Additionally, the trade volume just in the Taiwan Strait alone is approximately 828 billion, at least calculated in 2021. I'm sure it's a lot higher now, but that was the most accurate number I saw according to their numbers. It's the 16th largest exporter, Taiwan, and the 17th largest importer. 65.3 billion, not billion, trade surplus. So once again, as we take a look here at Kongray, can you see that this is a big weather story? Oftentimes, and ignore the spelling errors. Once again, I'm going to blame my head cold here, but you see here that I'm always looking for that next big weather story for you guys on Weather Co-op. It's fine to look at what's happening locally here. It's my pleasure to do that for you guys globally. This is a big weather story. If you're investing in semiconductors, it's something you want to think about, and just keep an eye out on the shipping lanes, okay? Because it is expected to make landfall as a category 4, a strong one. And we want to keep in mind that there is a lot of economy tied into Taiwan. So the weather impacting is a big problem, guys. This is why I like to keep you guys in the loop with everything. Hey, thank you so much to everybody joining. I haven't been looking at any of this stuff. So sorry, but I just have been talking my head off. So here we see once again that I think the biggest story of the week, while I would like to say it's Halloween or Halloween forecast, I believe it's Typhoon Kongray that's going to make landfall in Taiwan. I've got it noted as Tainan, but it might be a different city close by. We'll keep you updated, of course. And we've got to really make sure that we put the word out. So you have loved ones in Taiwan, if you have friends, colleagues, coworkers, employees, employers, give them a call. Of course, keep them updated. And you can always DM us here at Weather Co-op for more information. But I think this is the biggest story of the week right now. Okay. But once again, we'll leave you with our local weather here over the next couple of days with our future cast. As I said to you, we're watching that storm system move through, and then we're watching that frontal boundary. We're tracking the differences in these air masses. I think this is just fascinating. I just think it's so beautiful when you see how everything just migrates, and there's your next storm system. And I want to know, like, is there enough cold air to support that? Looks like there is. I'm pretty impressed with this system. Is there enough cold air to make me just like leave Southern California with my snow gear and make Jay pack his skis and go extreme skiing, and me, of course, take a video because I don't do that? But is this? No, not yet. Not yet. Give it a few more storms. Let that cold air settle into place. But I am liking the way we are looking right now in the Pacific. I am liking this. The Northeastern Pacific looks very good. We're tapping into some moisture. We are seeing that cold air move in. I like it. I do like it, especially since we were talking about a weaker La Nina. I, in fact, have to go refer to my ENSO data. I want to see what's happening there. Is we still in that ENSO neutral? What's happening? I've got to look at some teleconnections, MJO patterns, and our NAO patterns. You're like, what? Acronyms. Yes, acronyms. Okay. So we'll talk about that. And if you want to know more about our acronyms here at Weather Co-op, I mean, we don't own them, but we talk about them here at Weather Co-op, where weather meets community. Join me right here every single day. Bye, guys.